and I went to an internet seminar. You know, this is the reason I use that is because it's very popular in speakers, among speakers now, to say, you know, this is not about 5 nines, it's about 9 fives. So that's a very popular cliche that is being used at Foras all over the world. And they go, yeah, you know, in a way. On the other hand, 9 fives on a credit card transaction is so-so, to be honest. We also do a lot of measurements around users' attitude towards internet, to use service on the internet, to use Internet of Things and so forth in Ericsson. Among one interesting stat that I saw, that only 12% of European credit card transactors feel totally safe when they're doing a transaction today. Even though they're using PayPal and things like that, they feel, oh, maybe there is still something here. So I think we're going to have to rethink 9 fives. And the way we have to rethink 9 fives is that it's no longer about a node or a product or a blade or a server or a fiber connection or a router failure or something like that. The 9 fives, the 5 nines, is really about the end-to-end performance, the customer experience, and that I talked about in my keynote as well. This is moving now from functions on nodes, on stovepipes, on whatever, into something that is much more experience-focused, really delivering a function to a user. And then we're not going to settle with anything less than the performance that is really required. I'm surprised sometimes how patient I am with some of my applications that keep spinning wheels and so on. That is only limiting the usage. And as we get the usage closer connected, the actual usage closer connected to a more reliable infrastructure, we're going to see that end users get used to a high level of experience. The impatience of watching movies that keep, I don't know what the English term is. But,
buffering.
Yeah, it keeps buffering, and it keeps freezing. It's okay now because we're pretty new to this, but I'm sure that a few years from now there will be none of that. And we're not going to take that either. Because our way of perceiving the world is always moving on and enhanced and enhanced and enhanced. So it's like when the Apple iPhone came out, it totally transformed every other device out there that was called a smartphone immediately was not called a smartphone. And that transformed that whole industry. So I think there's going to be people always pushing the envelopes on the performance, and therefore I say we're going to move into an end-to-end user experience with 5 nines. That's what I meant.
And can I just one very quick follow-up? Is network security the biggest barrier to achieving that? Or
I think so. I think network security is going to be both one of the biggest barriers, but it's going to also be one of the biggest opportunities. Because as network security and reliability is out there, people are, and not really, people is the wrong word. I would say enterprises and people who want to make use of that connectivity. Imagine you are a car company and you want to be connecting, and I think Klaus mentioned in his keynote that roaming is one of the key issues in the car industry, and it's so obvious. For them, it's here we are in an industry debating and discussing roaming day out and day in, and we think that's really interesting. For them, it's just a problem that our industry has not been able to solve fast enough. And there is going to be a lot of these things that just are going to be taken for granted if we're going to connect cars and we're going to connect other devices. It's just going to be the expectations of those industries that we solve those problems, and one of those is security. Right. You're awfully far back today.
So you made an interesting remark this morning about, in terms of the network society, it's now much bigger outside of telecom than inside telecom.
Yeah.
Could you expand on that?
That's a bit. So whenever you try to give readings that are valuable to people like yourselves, analysts and tech writers and so on, you try to bring value. And my perception, this was a personal comment, so my perception right now is that we don't need in the telco industry to go around and say, you know, everything, this will connect, and then you can, you know, buy your airplane ticket while you're eating your breakfast in your automated car or whatever. It's really it's really something that's already going on to this tremendous speed. So my worry is rather that we can't transform the networks fast enough to live up to the expectations of the clouds. And therefore, I think that's where I'm bringing a bit of urgency here to the TM forum. I think that will not hurt.
One last, right?
Just on that note, do you think the industries themselves should be doing more to invest in network infrastructure?
Well, I think so, and I made one comment this morning about the growth codes, and if anyone has a chance, I'm sure that we have copies of that here. We did a study material on what really makes a stronger EBITDA development among our customers, and it's interestingly enough, we didn't know, but those who has the best EBITDA developments are also those who has developed strongest on their assets, on their infrastructure, and that we have with names and proof of it. Whether that's a totally general rule, that I think is difficult to say. There can be totally other factors that disrupt or make it very hard for an operator to succeed in their business. But certainly there is a correlation with some of the biggest ones, and then examples could be Telstra or SoftBank in Japan or Smartone in Hong Kong, etc. So, yeah. There is an element of that, absolutely.